Biomolecules. Biomolecules. Also called biological molecule, any of numerous substances that are produced by cells and living organisms. Have a wide range of sizes and structures and perform a vast array of functions. 4 major types of biomolecules: carbohydrates, lipids, proteins, nucleic acids. Carbohydrates. Carbohydrates, or saccharides. The most abundant of the 4 biomolecules, also known as carbs, have several roles in living organisms, including energy transportation. They are also structural components of plants and insects. They are a major food source and a key form of energy for most organisms. They consist of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen atoms. 2 basic compounds make up carbohydrates. 1. Aldehydes. These are double-bonded carbon and oxygen atoms, plus a hydrogen atom. R group, which is any generic alkyl or side chain. 2. Ketones. These are double-bonded carbon and oxygen atoms, plus 2 additional carbon atoms. Carbs can combine together to form polymers, or chains. These polymers can function as long-term food storage molecules, protective membranes for organisms and cells. The main structural support for plants. Types of carbohydrate. 1. Monosaccharides. This is the smallest possible sugar unit. 3. Monosaccharides. Glucose, major source of energy for a cell. Blood sugar means glucose in the blood. Galactose, most readily available in milk and dairy products. Fructose, mostly in vegetables and fruit. 2. Disaccharides. Are 2 monosaccharide molecules bonded together. 3 major disaccharides. Lactose. Produced from bonding one glucose molecule with a galactose molecule. Found in milk. Maltose. 2 molecules of glucose. Found in starchy grains, vegetables, and fruits. Sucrose. Produced from bonding one glucose molecule with a fructose molecule. Found in table sugar. It is often results from photosynthesis, when sunlight absorbed by chlorophyll reacts with other compounds in plants. 3. Polysaccharides. Act as food stores in plants and animals. They also play a structural role in the plant cell wall and the tough outer skeleton of insects. Polysaccharides are a chain of 2 or more monosaccharides. The chain may be a. Branched. The molecule looks like a tree with branches and twigs. b. Unbranched, where the molecule is a straight line. 3 important polysaccharides. Glycogen is a polysaccharide that humans and animals store in the liver and muscles. Starches are glucose polymers that are made up of amylose and amylopectin. Rich sources include potatoes, rice, and wheat. Starches are not water-soluble. Humans and animals digest them using amylase enzymes. Cellulose is one of the main structural constituents of plants. Wood, paper, and cotton are mostly made of cellulose. They are all composed of glucose. Cellulose, starch, amylose, amylopectin, glycogen. Simple and complex carbohydrates. 1. Simple carbohydrates are sugars. Monosaccharides and disaccharides are simple carbohydrates. They consist of just 1 or 2 molecules. They provide a rapid source of energy, but the consumer soon feels hungry again. Sugar occurs naturally in some foods. Types of sugar include fruit sugar, fructose, table sugar, sucrose, and milk sugar, lactose. 2. Complex carbohydrates consist of long chains of sugar molecules. Polysaccharides are complex. They tend to fill you up for longer, and they are considered more healthful, as they contain more vitamins, minerals, and fiber. Starch is made of many sugar units bonded together. It occurs naturally in vegetables, grains, and cooked dry beans and peas. Fiber occurs naturally in fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and cooked dry beans and peas. Complex carbs versus simple carbs. Soluble versus insoluble fiber. A. Soluble fiber dissolves in water and gastrointestinal fluids when it enters the stomach and intestines. It is transformed into a gel-like substance, which is digested by bacteria in the large intestine, releasing gases and a few calories. Oat bran, as are barley, nuts and seeds, psyllium, lentils, peas and other legumes. Apples also make this list, and so do strawberries and citrus fruits. Soluble fiber slows the digestive process and helps maximize nutrient absorption. B. Insoluble fiber does not dissolve in water or gastrointestinal fluids and remains more or less unchanged as it moves through the digestive tract. Because it is not digested at all, insoluble fiber is not a source of calories. It will not be absorbed into the body. Insoluble fiber adds bulk to the stool and therefore reduces the transit time through the intestines. This type of fiber is found in wheat bran and other whole grains as well as vegetables such as carrots, potatoes, and cabbage. Apples also contain insoluble fiber, as do pears and prunes. Breaking down fiber. Soluble versus insoluble. Insoluble fiber versus soluble fiber. Two, lipids. Lipids are a large and diverse group of naturally occurring organic compounds that are related by their solubility in nonpolar organic solvents. Example: ether, chloroform, acetone, and benzene, and general insolubility in water. 1. Fatty acids. The common feature of these lipids is that they are all esters of moderate to long-chain fatty acids. An ester is a chemical compound derived from an acid, organic or inorganic, in which at least one O.H, hydroxyl, group is replaced by an O-alkyl, alkaz, group. Usually, esters are derived from a carboxylic acid and an alcohol. Natural fatty acids may be saturated or unsaturated. A. Saturated. If there are only single bonds between neighboring carbons in the hydrocarbon chain. B. Unsaturated. When the hydrocarbon chain has a double bond, has fewer hydrogens. 2 polyunsaturated fatty acids, linoleic and linolenic, are designated essential because their absence in the human diet has been associated with health problems, such as scaly skin, stunted growth, and increased dehydration. 2. Soaps and detergents. Fatty acids made up of 10 or more carbon atoms are nearly insoluble in water, and because of their lower density, float on the surface when mixed with water. Substances that accumulate at water surfaces and change the surface properties are called surfactants. The most common examples of such compounds are soaps and detergents. These molecules has a nonpolar hydrocarbon chain, the tail, and a polar, often ionic, head group. The use of such compounds as cleaning agents is facilitated by their surfactant character, which lowers the surface tension of water, allowing it to penetrate and wet a variety of materials. The presence of a soap or a detergent in water facilitates the wetting of all parts of the object to be cleaned, and removes water-insoluble dirt by incorporation in micelles. 3. Fats and oils. These triglycerides, or triacylglycerols, are found in both plants and animals, and compose one of the major food groups of our diet. Triglycerides that are solid or semi-solid at room temperature are classified as fats, and occur predominantly in animals. Those triglycerides that are liquid are called oils and originate chiefly in plants, although triglycerides from fish are also largely oils. Fats have a predominance of saturated fatty acids, and oils are composed largely of unsaturated acids. 4. Waxes are esters of fatty acids with long-chain monohydric alcohols, 1-hydroxyl group. Natural waxes are often mixtures of such esters, and may also contain hydrocarbons. The leaves and fruits of many plants have waxy coatings, which may protect them from dehydration and small predators. The feathers of birds and the fur of some animals have similar coatings which serve as a water repellent. Carnauba wax is valued for its toughness and water resistance. 5. Phospholipids are the main constituents of cell membranes. They resemble the triglycerides in being ester or amide derivatives of glycerol or sphingosine with fatty acids and phosphoric acid. Steroids. The important class of lipids. Steroids, short for corticosteroids, are synthetic drugs that closely resemble cortisol, a hormone that your body produces naturally. Steroids work by decreasing inflammation and reducing the activity of the immune system. They are used to treat a variety of inflammatory diseases and conditions. Lipid-soluble vitamins. The essential dietary substances called vitamins are commonly classified as water-soluble or fat-soluble. Water-soluble vitamins, such as vitamin C, are rapidly eliminated from the body and their dietary levels need to be relatively high. Vitamins A and D, while essential to good health in proper amounts, can be very toxic. Vitamin D, for example, is used as a rat poison, and in equal weight is more than 100 times as poisonous as sodium cyanide. 3. Proteins. Proteins are among the most abundant organic molecules in living systems and are way more diverse in structure and function than other classes of macromolecules. A single cell can contain thousands of proteins, each with a unique function. Although their structures, like their functions, vary greatly, all proteins are made up of one or more chains of amino acids. Types and functions of proteins. 1. Enzymes act as catalysts in biochemical reactions, meaning that they speed the reactions up. Different enzymes participate in different types of reactions and may break down, link up, or rearrange their substrates. Salivary amylase, which breaks amylose, starch, down into smaller sugars. 2. Hormones are long-distance chemical signals released by endocrine cells, pituitary gland. They control specific physiological processes, such as growth, development, metabolism, and reproduction. While some hormones are steroid-based, lipids, others are proteins. These protein-based hormones are commonly called peptide hormones. Insulin is an important peptide hormone that helps regulate blood glucose levels. When blood glucose rises, specialized cells in the pancreas release insulin. The insulin binds to cells in the liver and other parts of the body, causing them to take up the glucose. This process helps return blood sugar to its normal, resting level. Protein types and functions. Proteins shapes and sizes. 1. Globular, roughly spherical, protein, example. Hemoglobin. 2. Fibrous protein, long, thin fibers, example. Collagen, found in our skin. A protein's shape is critical to its function. Many different types of chemical bonds may be important in maintaining this shape. Changes in temperature and pH, as well as the presence of certain chemicals, may disrupt a protein's shape and cause it to lose functionality, a process known as denaturation. Amino acids are the monomers that make up proteins. Specifically, a protein is made up of one or more linear chains of amino acids, each of which is called a polypeptide. The 20 different amino acids that the body uses to synthesize proteins are, alanine, arginine, asparagine, aspartic acid, cysteine, glutamic acid, glutamine, glycine, histidine, isoleucine, leucine, lysine, methionine, phenylalanine, proline, serine, threonine, tryptophan, tyrosine, and valine are organic molecules that consist of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, and sometimes sulfur. It is the amino acids that synthesize proteins and other important compounds in the human body, such as creatine, peptide hormones, and some neurotransmitters. 3 types of protein foods. 1. Complete proteins. These foods contain all the essential amino acids. Mostly occur in animal foods, such as meat, dairy, and eggs. 2. Incomplete proteins. These foods contain at least one essential amino acid, so there is a lack of balance in the proteins. Plant foods, such as peas, beans, and grains. 3. Complementary proteins. These refer to 2 or more foods containing incomplete proteins that people can combine to supply complete protein. EX include rice and beans or bread with peanut butter. What do proteins do? To build, strengthen, and repair or replace things, such as tissue. Proteins can be structural, example, keratin that strengthens protective coverings, such as hair. Collagen and elastin, also provide support for connective tissue. Hormonal, example, insulin. Carriers, example, hemoglobin. Enzymes, example, such as amylase. They are catalysts, which means they speed up chemical reactions. They are necessary for respiration in human cells, or photosynthesis in plants. 4. Nucleic acids. Nucleic acids are molecules that allow organisms to transfer genetic information from one generation to the next. These macromolecules store the genetic information that determines traits and makes protein synthesis possible. Nucleic acids include DNA and RNA. These molecules are composed of long strands of nucleotides. Nucleotides are composed of a nitrogenous base, a 5-carbon sugar, and a phosphate group. DNA is composed of a phosphate deoxyribose sugar backbone and the nitrogenous bases adenine, A, guanine, G, cytosine, C, and thymine, T. RNA has ribose sugar and the nitrogenous bases A, G, C, and uracil, U. Let's try to answer the following. 1. Nutritional chemists have found that burning 1 gram of fat releases twice the amount of heat energy as burning 1 gram of starch. Based on this information, which type of biomolecule would cause a person to gain more weight? D. Carbohydrates. 2. There are 3 classes of carbohydrates: monosaccharides, disaccharides, and polysaccharides. Which of the following groups are all classified as polysaccharide? C. Glycogen, cellulose, and starch. 3. Carbohydrates are the sugars, starches, and fibers found in fruits, grains, vegetables, and milk products. Which of the following is major function of carbohydrates? 1. Structural framework. 2. Storage. 3. Energy production. D. 1 and 3 only. 4. A molecule of amylopectin which contains 1,500 glucose residues and is branched after every 30 residues. How many reducing ends are there? B. 1. 5. Fatty acids. A carboxylic acid consisting of a hydrocarbon chain and a terminal carboxyl group, especially any of those occurring as esters in fats and oils. It is the building block of which group of biomolecules? A. Lipids. 6. Solubility is a chemical property referring to the ability for a given substance, the solute, to dissolve in a solvent. What is the solubility of lipids in water? B. Insoluble. 7. What kind of molecule is represented by the structure below? D. Unsaturated fatty acid. 8. Lipids are an important component of living cells. Which food contains the most lipids? D. Olive oil. 9. Protein, highly complex substance that is present in all living organisms. It is made up of blank. A. Carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen. 10. These are considered as polynucleotides. It is made up of 3 components: nitrogenous base, sugar, and an ion of phosphoric acid. The monomeric units of nucleic acid are called blank. C. Nucleotides. 11. Polynucleotide runs on the backbone of the phosphate sugar chain. The base pairing of these nucleotide gives secondary structure. The secondary structure of DNA is its double helix. Which bond is used to stabilize the double helix of DNA? C. Hydrogen bond. D. The bond between sugar and the nitrogenous base. D. The bond between sugar and the nitrogenous base.